right. All right. Welcome in everybody to Let's Talk Live here on the LTL Media channel. I hope everybody's having a wonderful Wednesday, and I think we have a very special show here. We're going to have some fun. I think we have a lot of questions that we're going to ask, get into some topics that probably haven't been talked about, but I'm not going to wait too much longer here. I'm going to bring in my two awesome guests this evening. I have Jason Broyles, not Hailey Walbrecht on X, and the one and only Paula. And I hate saying this, but Juror 11, because you are known by Juror 11. Can you just pull your microphone up a little bit there? So how's everybody?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, wild, huh?
Intense.
It's been intense. I'm sure a lot of media has been, we were talking, pre-show, and, I asked you about the mainstream media, and you said it was like, and I'll let you talk about it, but it was like the Wednesday, the verdict happened, and they were already 4 or 5 already at your door on Thursday.
Yeah, I was surprised. How did you get my address so fast? I just, gave an interview, written interview online, and then suddenly they show up and they said they have a means to find everybody's addresses, and they just kept coming.
It's just wild.
Yeah.
And then you did a lot of YouTube channels, live shows as well too.
Yeah, I talked to Turtle Boy and Larry Foreman and the 2 TikTok content creators. And I mean, I don't feel like I'm talking a lot anymore. It was just that first 24 hours that was a lot, but now here and there's something I want to bring up, like you want to talk to me. So
yeah. Do you feel like you've come down yet, or probably not?
No, it's definitely like slowing down. And I don't think I have a lot to add regarding the case anymore, but there's something going on, like Paul's case in my life, especially. And I think we need to address.
Can we talk a little bit about, let's talk about the case a little bit. Is there anything that surprised you? Because I know that you have law experience in Brazil, and seeing probably the court system in Brazil and seeing how it works here in the US, is it pretty similar, or was there a lot of things that were different?
No, we have a different system. Here's common law, in Brazil is Roman law. And we have a more code-based law, the way the judges are more involved in everything than here. But as far as jury goes, we also have a jury over there, less people than here. And we don't have a jury for civil cases.
Oh, wow.
Just criminal. And I mean, I never been a jury in Brazil before, but I've been court watching during my college days, my university days. And it was similar, just watching evidence here and there. And I honestly, I like it to be in court, and that experience was valuable for me. I really enjoy it. I took it serious.
Yeah. So you come on to this really high profile case, and you're sitting in, you go through the questionnaire, you get picked as a juror, trial starts. What was the moment that started like, okay, this is real now? Was it day one, or did it take you kind of a couple days to get into the rhythm of the trial?
It took a couple of days because you gave me the questionnaire, and then they call us for an interview and ask you questions. My interview was really fast. Have you heard about Karen Reed? And the judge actually got to me smiling and said, so you put it here, you didn't raise your hand in any of the questions, so you never heard about Karen Reed? I said, no, actually, when I go grocery shop, there is a billboard on the Route 1, and I see like that name, but I don't know what the case is about. And it's like, oh, okay. And then she left, and they took the side and talk a little bit, talk to Karen, and the Commonwealth talked to, and then they got me in. And the only thing I knew was like, oh, it's going to be about 6 weeks. You don't talk to anybody, and you go home. And the next day, they called me saying that the trial would start the next week. I'm sorry.
Wow. So it came that fast.
It. Yeah. So when I got home, I'm like, so guys, there is this and that going on, 6 weeks, and I will be away. We need to figure out my life, how it's going to be. And my family knew that about her.
Yeah.
And they, okay, so you're going to be 6 weeks away here in Dedden. Okay. Is that, I can't talk about it. So we just stop. But everybody knew it was Karen Reed. There's no other way.
It's like, it's hard I mean, you live here in the state of Massachusetts. How do you not know about, how do you not see something on the news? I mean, you live out of state.
I do.
And I mean, obviously you've been in this, but I'm sure you hear even just a lot of stuff where
I do. In fact, we're going to be talking about a little bit later on is the harassment. I had a situation where I've had to talk to several police departments about similar harassment for the positions that I've taken in this case. And and for the fact that I designed that billboard that you have seen on your way to the grocery store. And every single time I do, I have this unique experience where you have the police. They'll come out and they'll take the report. In my hometown, they added me to a list. So my address is there. If someone tries to swat me and call it a fake police call, the police know to call my cell phone and have a conversation. And in the process of doing all that, every single time when I'm done with the business that I'm doing there, the body camera goes off and the police officer will look and say, all right, but who do you think did it? and I've made it a point to actually not, I don't say who I think did it, because it was the Commonwealth's job to prove that. And they just didn't do it, and they didn't investigate it properly. But every time I say that I'm not willing to tell the police officer who did it, they always say, well, here's who I think did it. And they always come back to me. I talked to no shorter than probably 30 to 50 police officers during the pendency of this trial, and not a single police officer that I talked to thought Karen Reed was guilty. So that tells you something.
That says a lot, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, did you go through any type of emotional process when you're in that court? I mean, probably mentally, it's just you're absorbing all this information, and you didn't have the luxury like we did to sit here and analyze all this for 2 years. So you had all these facts coming in from, information coming in from two sides. How do you process all that?
A common thing we always say in the jury room was like, wow, we haven't sitting down that long listening to someone since college days. Like everybody,
it was like lectures.
Yeah, we're writing down and on 5 books, 2, 3 notebooks, and it took a while for everybody to adjust the amount of information we'd receive. And there was times, like end of the day, a headache. Before I go home, I stop somewhere, park the car, and just stretch a little bit, because it's a lot of information, and it's real life. We're talking about a death of someone. It's heavy, it's intense, and could be my neighbor who would be Karen Reed the next time, or could be my cousin who would be John O'Keefe. So can happen to anyone. What shocked me the most in this case is that they are normal people. They are like me. They are, regulars. They're not someone who live in the ghetto in Islam and we were waiting for something to happen. And so it was heavy. It was intense.
So as you're in trial and maybe you're a couple weeks in or a couple days in, was it hard to try to stay away from any of the media buzz? I mean, you probably were hearing stuff, I would think. I mean, it's hard to still not. No.
Because in my house, we don't watch TV. I have 4 young children.
I don't either.
So they only do Netflix, and that's it. I don't have many friends. I'm not doing anything before. I wasn't working because previously I worked part-time at Target. I wasn't Target anymore. I had this gig for just 2 weekends. And what I was doing is in Brazil for work. So my whole social media thing was in Brazil. My Instagram account, just to talk to my family and friends in Brazil. My work was social media in Brazil. So I was not accessing everything around here. Maybe international news, but not much local news. So I was shielded by anything. And of course, when everybody knew I was in a Karen Reed case, everybody refrained to talk to me. There was a point I took my kids on one day we didn't have court, and I took my kids to the bus stop to school, and the neighbors all look at me. Wow, you're coming. You are here today. Don't talk to her. She can't say anything. And everybody was just laughing quietly and let me just be there awkward. And then the kids laughed, and everybody knew, but everybody was really serious about it.
I think that's actually the important point here, which is that contrary to what we saw after you came out and gave your media interviews, if people actually listened to what you were saying instead of just coming in with their own assumptions, or maybe taking something that you said was a joke and taking it out of context, if people listened to what you were saying, it was very clear to me from your first interview on, and trust me, I watched every one of them. And it was very clear to me that you took your responsibilities as a juror very seriously. And that to me, it's one of my favorite things about you, is that you were able to do that and still able to have a sense of humor now in the kind of the aftermath and everything that's happened. But I'm sure we'll get more into that. But.
Yeah. And, and we even heard that from the foreman too, when he spoke on Good Morning America, he talked about how serious you guys actually took this and took into account. And I was asking Paula, just for everybody at home, I was asking her, how did the evidence work? Did they just bring it in one by one? Did they call for it? And she said, no. I mean, it literally was all there to access all time. Were there any pieces of evidence that you all focus more on inside the room. I know you talked about the tail light, and you said, thank God we had that tail light. If you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think the tail light was the main piece for everybody. Once we could compare real tail light with the broken one and the videos, we have all sat together. So the video was on top for us to watch and re-watch and go over, zoom in, and you had both tail lights for us to take our own conclusions. And after you figure out the tail light, you go look into the evidence bags. Like we have a bunch of evidence bags from the day, from the 29, 28, 29 and 30, and like who picked up this evidence, what time, what day, everything was memorized correctly, yes or no. And that's how was the main thing, I think, that made us believe that there wasn't a collision.
Wow, that's intense. And it's funny because when that tail light was brought out, I went, yes, they're gonna get a tail light in the jury's hands. I love this, because I wanted you all to feel and physically feel that tail light, to see how actually thick that was. And if that really did hit John, there would be more injuries upon the scale of what the Commonwealth was trying to play off to you guys. That clearly would have broken his arm or ripped his arm out of his socket. And then we come to find out with the x-rays, it didn't show any damage except for the dog bites that were on John's arm.
And I don't even know if you know, Paula, but for the story from the beginning was that there were no x-rays taken. There were no x-rays taken. We were shocked when they stood up in court and there was suddenly x-rays. Even Dr. Welcher said, well, his arm was never x-rayed. And then next thing you know,
there were
boom,
x-rays.
Here are these x-rays. We think we've privately speculated that one of the reasons that, I don't even know if you knew, that there was intended to be a rebuttal case where the state was going to come back after the defense rested, and they decided not. They were going to bring Dr. Welcher back and one other, I don't remember, but they decided not to do it. And we think that's because they would be questioned on that x-ray, that they didn't, basically said there didn't exist.
So there was an x-ray in the first one. They said specifically no x-ray in the first one?
Yeah. There was x-rays the whole time.
No, but in the first one wasn't presented.
It was never presented. It wasn't allowed. Yeah, and Alan Jackson, Karen's attorney, just talked about that on Turtle Boy's show just the other night. He said, we had the x-rays the whole time. We knew about them, but it wasn't allowed, just like you weren't allowed to hear about the FBI. I'm sure you figure out pretty quickly. And I said, that's a good question I want to ask you. The juries figure out when they were saying, other authorities or
other
agencies, did you all kind of say to each other, it's the FBI?
To me, it was clear on Jenny McCabe right in the beginning. So on her testimony, she said, so I got home and there was this car waiting for me. And then someone, I think it was Alan Jackson, he said, this other agents, right? And other agents. To me, it was FBI.
The word agents was the key.
And then I think it even came out at some time.
Or entity. They said also that's entity.
Entity.
Who is not hired by a insurance company. It's not hired for the Commonwealth or the defense. Okay.
Well, and Kelly Dever let the cat out of the bag.
She said FBI. Yeah.
Yeah, she's accidentally slept in.
So here we are. We're post-trial now, and we've seen a lot of harassment online. Jason's been kind of catching me up to speed. I just find it crazy that someone comes in, does their civic duty, wants to do the right thing as their civic duty, goes in and sits through a very long trial and absorbs all this information, gets in a room with 12 people and makes a decision based off the evidence. And this is how we get repaid now. We have people that come out of our communities and attack people, which is disgusting and it's gross. No one should ever be criticized for doing the right thing based off the evidence. What has it really been like for you, kind of going through all of this? And
so like I told you before, I thought that the media attention would be on that day that the television got in my house and I gave the TV interviews. For me, that was it. Maybe Turtle Boy, because he was a guy involved.
Of course.
And again, I wasn't following everything. I didn't know everybody who was involved. I just know those faces of the media that were there, and I look up their names and I start following them after the trial. So I had no clue the size of the movement. What's Karen Reed, Aunt Karen Reed, pink shirts and everything. Yeah, I know they use pink and the other side use blue, but had no clue about the movement.
Did you know the day that? Did you know the day of the verdict how much support Karen had?
I
Did you
heard
feel the building kind of rumbling? What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, that's the moment. I think I can tell you what I was probably was the closest I was to you, other than right now, because I was standing right at the front of the barricade, right at the bottom of the stairs at the thing. And I know for, obviously a lot of us were you weren't emotionally invested in it, and a lot of us were emotionally invested in it. You had your own emotional investment in being a juror. For me, it was there's a moment that I always recount. I talked to you about. There's there's this whole cast of characters, like you said, you're figuring out who people are. And even within the Free Karen Reed movement, a lot of people had jobs. And there's this photographer named Allison, and she did a lot of the photography surrounding entrances and exits from court. And just, there's so many of them. Brian Hale, so many of them. But this one Allison, who I've gotten to know her and her partner, Jason Grant, very well. She was, I'll never forget. And I haven't even watched my film. I was filming. And I looked up at one moment and we were crying. Like the crowd, pretty much everybody was crying. And I saw her standing on the other side of the barricade, doing her job, taking pictures, and the tears were streaming down her face. And there was something about that moment that's always locked in. But what was that like? How surprising was it? Like, you didn't know.
Did you feel the building rumble, or could you hear the crowd?
The crowd, yeah. I didn't know how many people were outside. When we go through the court every day, we have to go through security. Has a window, and we can see there was some media outside. Through our window, we saw a car of a TV outside.
Sure.
So, and the judge said
it's a high. Pretty good.
They did.
Yeah.
But the judge said in the beginning, it's a high-profile case. Okay, so I know it's a high-profile case, but how high? How big? What's the extent of big? That part I just found out. And the verdict afternoon, when I heard the crowd, and wow, I closed my eyes and I start crying, because it kind of like sink in the relief of that responsibility. It was a little scary to see there were so many people expecting for that outside, and I'm a juror in the middle of that thing. And also, to me, I felt really bad for his family leaving court. And I didn't see anything else in court. I just shut my eyes and my head down, and the judge sent us back, and we all got back to the room. And not just me, a lot of us were crying of relief. Of maybe some people were happy, some people were upset that maybe they want a different outcome. I don't know. But bottom line is that it's the reasonable doubt situation. Like all of us were on the same page, and all of us discussed through and through that there was no way we could convict her of murder, second-degree murder, or manslaughter, because we couldn't prove enough that there was a collision.
Yeah. And putting your lawyer hat on for a minute, it's actually, I don't know if you'll do this, but if you end up going back and watching the first trial, because it's all available, right? It was a different strategy. So from a strategic standpoint as a lawyer, in the first trial, I know people have told you things, but in the first trial, there was much more of a focus on
find who did it,
on this theory of who else could it have been. And, from the defense side, presenting alternate suspects and everything else. And in the second trial, they really honed that down to focus on the reasonable doubt, because it definitely is the stronger argument. Like I said, when the police officer would ask me questions, I can't tell you who did it, because the problem in this case is the whole and how it was investigated and all of these things along the way. But what that brings in its place, instead of bringing you the suspect, it brings you the reasonable doubt,
which is what they need to do. And people criticize me. It's not just a reasonable doubt. You also believe she's innocent, but that's my personal belief based on what I saw. Okay, maybe there were people in the other 11 who didn't believe she's innocent, but also agreed that there was enough reasonable doubt. And I'm entitled to have opinion. I do think she's innocent. I have my own theories, and I don't have to prove my theories. I can speak about it and say whatever I wanted, like any other citizen who were following the case. In my specific case, I didn't even follow. I just was surrounded by evidence and everything. You guys have to understand the difference of watch online and be there and touch and go through and through in your hand. It's different. Because I'm watching pieces here and there. The experience is totally different. So I know what I saw. The other 11 of us saw it too. And the other 6 who were out felt the same way. So it's not just me.
Yeah.
Well, and that's actually been my primary point. As you know, I've spent a lot of time posting and defending your position and the things that you've said, and that's my point, which is like, no matter what they say, and we'll go through some of the ridiculous things that they've come up with in terms of their theories of what you did wrong, right? But no matter what they say, they're simply targeting you because they didn't like the verdict that you and 11 other people unanimously came to,
And the other 6
and
alternates.
The other, which
and the alternates.
And you know, I know we've heard that, and I know people have talked to them or whatever, but you don't even need to reach to those other 6 because it's just the 12.
But I did. I specifically did. Me, Paula. I remember specifically.
That's true because you knew them.
Yeah, I was sitting down there crying, wipe my tears, and then they came in the room and join us. And then I look at all of them and I asked, do you think we did right?
Oh,
we
good.
did right.
Yeah.
We did right. I asked it to every single one of them, and they said, yeah, no, you're right. You're right. And then we went to the bus and we're trying to relax a bit. But I asked it. It's not to like lie. We all were on the same page. Again, might have people who don't think she's innocent. Yes. But there are but we all wouldn't, none of us would convict her.
So I had a famous moment by that bus. So I think it was either on the Monday or Tuesday of verdict week. One of the people who's been pretty prominent in harassing you, Ontology of Rogue, also by the name of Joe Warren, was out there live streaming, sitting there on your bus, basically right around the time that you would have been coming from lunch or whatever else was happening. And it resulted in the state police and the court officers coming out. But he actually sat there. And now we're in a position where we have this guy who was out there trying to film the bus, and he was trying to film the jury, and he was trying to do these things. And now he's one of the main people online who has come after you and attacked you and said things until recently. Now he's told everyone that,
block
it's a
the
trap.
jurors.
Block her because it's a trap. They're trying to set us up.
Yeah, it's a trap.
So I want to congratulate you on being so cunning that you convinced him before you ever knew who he was to try and sit there and film the jurors, knowing that he was going to come out and attack you so that you could trap him.
Yeah, people were saying that was me who did something. You're not being harassed. It wasn't you. Blah, blah. I didn't even know his name.
Right. And I'm always happy to help you with those.
I know.
And so I think that's the thing, right? So you have this scenario where you have these people that right off the bat, we hear she violated the sequestration order, right? That's one. She violated, and over and over and over again, they're saying this. She posted on Instagram on March 22nd or whatever
May
date it was.
31st, I remember.
31st. She posted on Instagram on this date, and she was barred from using social media. Now, I went back today and I watched some of the trial over again, and there were these 3 questions you got every day when you went into court, and they were you able to follow all of my instructions and refrain from discussing this case with anyone since we left yesterday? And in my best Bev,
Yes.
everyone said yes or not affirmatively,
Yes.
right? Were you able to follow the instructions and refrain from doing any independent research or investigation into this case? Everybody said
And
yes.
everybody nodded yes.
And did you happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case since we left yesterday? Same 3 questions every day. She made it a point to say, I'm going to ask you the same 3 questions. At the end of the day, this is the important part. She said, please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any research or independent investigation into this case.
And
if you
be very
happen to
careful.
see, hear, or read anything about this case, please disregard it and let us know. And be careful with your social media use.
Because we are not prohibited to use social
Right.
media.
There you go.
Right.
So
Nobody ever told us to not use social media. What happened is that I personally, a year ago, stopped using Instagram for my own personal reasons.
Yeah.
And I spent exactly a year and 3 days out of Instagram. And then that day, May 31st, I post a picture because I was feeling beautiful and I want to take a selfie. That was simple as that. And then, okay, guys, I'm back to Instagram. Yay. Talking to old friends and everything. And then a lot of news start popping up on my feed. And I decided, okay, better turn it off again. So I just took the Instagram from my phone, and then I download back again. And I wasn't prohibited to use it. That was my personal decision. And there was other jurors who were out of social media because they want to, not because we are prohibited.
right, but that's actually the best point, because what happened is you didn't do anything wrong. You used social media in a perfectly acceptable way. And then you saw that there were things that were going to pop up about the case.
I
And you by yourself actually did the right thing, and which is why we only saw, which I mean, they dug and dug and dug. They're finding posts that you made in 2013.
No,
And
2015.
I saw
2015.
Yeah.
I saw
Oh my
I saw 2013 today when I was
Wow, even better.
So we know that they've tried to dig into your life in every
Excuse me.
single way, but yet all they can find during the pendency of the Karen Reed case is that you made one post,
picture,
a picture of yourself. It had nothing to do with
Unreal.
the case.
Unreal.
So that is kind of what we see. We see these crazy. You were jury tampering. You were fixed. You knew the result from the start.
She's a Karen Reed. She's a Karen Reader from the beginning.
Again, I want to congratulate you because now you convinced 18 other people.
Oh yeah.
You're one of a jury of 12.
I know. Yeah.
And you're so influential. Actually, I think you have the capacity to be
me
that
and my
influential,
accent,
but-
like people was very no, they just want to listen to what I say. It's ridiculous. It's you were a Karen Reader from the beginning. You got money from it. You were this and that. You were looking all over because I saw this picture, and then they found pictures. They found posts of me in 2013. You said I saw one in 15 when there was a whole situation happening in Brazil. My country was political situation, and I was talking about it on my early 30s or late 20s, and then I'm like, all about it. And then she hates America. She's here to destroy the justice system and that. And it's like it goes so far away from reality. It's ridiculous.
We're here in Massachusetts, right? And in Massachusetts, it's known as a fairly liberal state politically. And every time you see an incident, the George Floyd incident, Black Lives Matter, all of these things, right? People here take to the streets and they protest about a minority being killed by a police officer, right? And I don't even care what people's feelings are on those cases. Everyone has a right to their opinion. And you being upset or expressing your dismay that a police officer killed a Black person on a traffic stop certainly doesn't make you anti-American, because what America is all about is being able to come here and express our opinions and stand up for people. So you literally had a cause that you believed in and you spoke up about it. I'd say that makes you a patriot. It certainly doesn't make you anti-American.
And then she becomes a juror and gives her decision in a trial.
And I become a juror being a illegal immigrant.
Right.
Call ICE on her. I said, okay, one of my address, please.
I forgot that one, the illegal immigration. Now, so most of these people, they're not smart, right? So most of these trolls that are coming after you online, they're saying these things they're just so obviously incorrect. She lied on her juror questionnaire. How do you know what she wrote on her juror questionnaire?
And because I had to disclose I'm a lawyer. And then they start like one side say, yeah, she's a lawyer. She should have disclosed. No, she's a liar. She's not a lawyer. Look at her university in Brazil. There was like a marketing sign somewhere they posted and say, look, she graduated on here. She's a liar. So either like I'm an American lawyer or I'm a fake Brazilian lawyer. It's very confusing. Sometimes I'm super smart and taking everybody like on my wish, and other times I'm dumb as rock.
So we see all that, and most of that side of the harassment, it really solves itself. You've been very good at responding to it in terms of your wit. I love your sense of humor. It's definitely in line with mine. I think you've seen some of my posts where I give it right back to them. You do it in an even better way than I do, because you do it in a very self-deprecating way, and I don't necessarily do the same thing. But I love that. But there's actually a much more serious side to this too, and I think that some of that may have gotten lost in translation. So we've had this situation now where people have talked about, wouldn't it be great if your kids were killed? And
or can we to find the name of your kids?
Right. Right. Can we find the name of her kids? I mean, it was pushing it when they started saying that you should be deported and when they were saying these things. But now there's actually serious threats and people out there that are attacking you. And this is a situation now where I'm just going to make a commitment to you live on the air. I'm going to help you in any way that I can in terms of gathering information and presenting that information to the proper authorities and doing what it takes, because people need to know that they can have their opinion about you and they can call you silly names and I'll call them silly names right back. And that's what the internet is, right? But when we start crossing into real life and you start to have real life consequences, not because you went out and did something wrong, not because, you got arrested and you're being splashed in front of the papers, but because you simply went and performed your juror service, you did your civic duty. There's something wrong with that. And our system can't exist in an environment where people are going to be afraid to be on juries.
Go ahead.
No, it's I make fun of the comments because they are absurd, they're ridiculous. So there's no like a real conversation with people who are saying those things about me. It's wrong from the bachelor. Oh, you were illegal. So if I was illegal, I couldn't be a citizen. You didn't disclose you're a lawyer, so show me the paper where I didn't disclose. They ask what you do for a living, and I said they actually, I don't remember if they asked specifically my education, but they asked what I did for a living, and I said, and then they found out that I work for Target part-time. Oh, so you're a liar because you're not a lawyer, you work for Target part-time. God, I was a lawyer in Brazil. So all the things are so little and ridiculous that I have to answer in a ridiculous manner. Right. And I noticed that people don't understand sarcasm. One, a lot of them don't understand. They take seriously what I said, as absurd as it is, and repost saying, see, she's saying that she's getting money from it. And yeah. And then I give my Venmo. I gave my Venmo for, I think, to 3 people. You guys are so invested in calling me rich and famous. So now bring it in. Yeah. It's my way to respond. I could be arguing on and on and on, or I could just log off. Like a lot of people say, oh, log off if you don't want the attention. All you want is the attention. I don't think I don't think I have to log off from something that I just log in. By the way, I have Twitter exactly for 20 days since the trial. I had in the past for 2 years. They say I deleted everything for the past 3 years. There was one person. This is interesting. My last post on Twitter was 2022. So they say, you see how weird it is? Her last post was 2022. So after that, she escaped to Brazil and she's being a cutting reader from the beginning. It's like 2022, I have a 6-month-old baby. Yes, yeah. I moved to Brazil. It's like, wow, really? Yeah. So I had to make fun of them. But like Jason said, it's beyond mockery. Mockery, I don't care. That's all you have against me. Go ahead. But yeah, there are threats, there are harassment for real. I'm not looking for just because I spoke out. I'm entitled to have a social media like all of us.
Yeah. Let's just pause here for a second. I'm going to read a couple of chats so we can take a breath here. I'm just going to tell you right now, and I'm going to put out this statement. If you harass her and you harass her family, we will get the evidence and find it and turn you into the authorities. Because I'm not playing around. This is a fine young lady here that did her civic duty, and she doesn't deserve this. Again, you want to play back and forth on Twitter and talk about ridiculous stuff, but when you're trying to hunt her down and her family and find out where she lives, I will find you and I will turn you in. Trust me, we will work together to find you and turn you in. She will not be harassed.
Thank you.
And her family will not be harassed. I won't let that happen. So we will help you.
I agree. And if you want to continue to make silly comments or whatever else, go ahead, because she can clearly,
it's entertaining.
She can clearly handle herself, and she's better than you at it. So if you want to keep embarrassing yourself and going after her in the silly ways, go ahead. But she's better than you at it. My favorite one, by the way, ever is when someone says, you just need to go away. And you say, okay, but as long as you'll come here and hold my hand and go away with me. Yeah. I love that.
This is a hardworking mom that came here to do her civic duty. And her family doesn't deserve this, and she doesn't deserve it. I will find them and turn them in.
I want to add one more thing to that. We're saying that if these people do this, for those of you that have already done it.
Oh, we're getting files together. Don't worry. Yeah.
I'm not done yet. And you can ask Joe Warren how that looks like. Okay. So you can ask him how that looks. I'm not done yet. When you go harass people online, and especially people who didn't do anything wrong, they didn't deserve it. We have this conversation. I say this all the time about there's a difference between players and spectators, right? Players, if you're online and you're coming, how you doing, Sean McCabe? If you're online and you're going back and forth with me, giving it to each other, I don't care. That's what we do. That's great. But someone who just showed up and did what was expected of her, did her civic duty, she doesn't deserve to be viciously attacked. Actually, one more second. I'll give you super chats in a second. I don't know if you know this. I was briefly mentioning it to you, but we actually have a witness in the trial, a central figure, Jen McCabe, and her brother-in-law, John McCabe, has been one of the people that's been viciously attacking Paula online. And today he made his Twitter banner a picture of my home. So he put that up there. And in response, I put my address in the chat with a zip code so that people could send me Christmas cards. because I'm one of the most doxed people on the internet. So I don't care at the end of the day. I did get a lot of nice comments about the manicured lawn mowing lines on my grass. And I can't take credit for that. I actually, when the Google Street View went by, was away, and my wife cut the grass. And I actually, when I was getting compliments on that today, I was mad because I cut the grass horizontally and she cut it vertically. So we had a whole conversation about that today, but my wife gets the credit for those lawn lines. But thank you for noticing, whoever was zooming in on the picture of my house today. Sorry.
No, all right. Let's get to a couple of chats here. I want to read these off. Hear ye, hear you, hear me. $20. Thank you so much. Just thank you for all that you do, Brian. And shout out to my girl Dingo from Southern Connecticut, who told me about tonight's stream. Well, thank you so much for being here. Colleen, thank you so much for becoming a new YouTube member. We have Motions VIP, long-time subscriber here. $5 says, Brian, brother, so happy for your success. Proud for you. Promise you I'll be back soon to keep giving you support. I know that you're busy. I know you have a very busy business. And, listen, we're always here and you're always here. I appreciate that. 2 a.m. search happened. We have $5 Canadian. Hi, Paula. Will you watch all pre-trial motions for trial 1 and trial 2 in both trials? Melanie Little has an amazing YouTube playlist. Great. Love your ex posts. Have you watched any of the trials, or have you gone back and watched
just pieces here and there? Yeah. I want to watch the second one actually again, because I want to refresh my memory on things. Since I'm talking about it, I want to be I want to be certain of things. But believe it or not, I'm not all day on X, and I just didn't have the time to sit down and dive in anything. I'm trying to catch up. My house task. My kids are missing me for summer. And but I want to. I really want to.
Yeah. We got Kaylee C, a paralegal, $5 says, Paula, you're beautiful. Being a busy and sassy mom, and mom of many little myself. I have so much respect for you, and they are lucky to have you and learn from you. So that's awesome. Tanya D, thank you so much for the 5. What did you think about the response you received from the judge about the time of the OUI? Which time did you actually ultimately find guilty? 12:45 or the 5 a.m.?
5 a.m.
Explain that.
Yeah, a lot of the other jurors, some jurors didn't want to give her even the OUI. So that was the discussion. And they were.
So some jurors didn't want to even give her the OUI. Okay,
yeah, she would go all free with nothing. I was one of them who wants to give the OUI because, we saw her drinking. That was the judge instructions say, use your common sense, use your experience. And we saw her having drinks. And we know when you drink by experience that you drive under the influence. And we asked that question. And she said the answer was, you guys saw everything you need to know. So make your own decision. And then we understood that we could use the 5 a.m. And the 5 a.m. was the approximate time to the time. Sorry.
It's okay.
The 5 a.m. was the closest time to the time she had their alcohol level examined, right? And so we could definitely prove by exams from the hospital and everything that she had alcohol in her bloodstream. So that's why we choose the 5.
What was the back and forth? Was it just the times, or? No,
it was because there are some people just thinking that she shouldn't receive OUI 3 years later. And a lot of people were like, oh, but they were, all the other cops and police, everyone was drinking and driving. And it's like, but it's not everyone on trial, unfortunately. So we have to talk about her only. So we took a while to go.
I think this is such a great point, because when you have all of these people, you were in it for Karen from the beginning, and now today you revealed that you were one of the ones that thought she should be convicted of OUI. I think the evidence was there too, and her team.
She said it.
I know you now know that her team's the one that asked that charge be put there.
Yeah.
And there's always this fear, back to the lawyer and you and the legal strategy. There's always this fear that juries want to split the baby, right? So juries they want to let her off, but they're like, what if we're wrong? And we feel bad for the parents and we want to do something. I'm just telling you that that's the legal theory behind the strategy behind why they want to have a charge there. Because if there is someone who is on the jury who hell-bent to convict. Let's give them something to convict on that's not.
No, but I guarantee you that wasn't the reason, like, oh, because she needs to get something in order of respect for John's parents or something. That wasn't the reason at all. It was really because we saw her drinking. And even though some people thought that, well, she can't be charged 3 years later, we all agreed that she had drinks. We all saw it. We all counted. And it wasn't just because, oh, we need to give something to her. And also, I said that in another interview. The fact that she came out on those interviews and documentaries saying that she drank and they played that in court, to me personally, was just her owning her narrative. Like, that's the thing that I did wrong that night. I really had those drinks, so let me tell this to the public. And they played that in jury, and it was, to me, was helpful to her.
Do you think that did any of those clips really influence you at all? I thought it was kind of goofy. I mean, I know why they did it, because they knew that Karen was probably never going to testify. So it was a way to use that for her to testify. But I feel like they used it to shape the narrative, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
So personally, I think that was a good way for us to hear from her what she actually did that night, which was drink and drive. So was beneficial to hear and for the defense, not what I don't think it. I think the Commonwealth want to put this there so we could judge her morally, and like for example, the voicemails, the angry voicemails.
Yeah.
It's like,
what did you make of that?
Didn't affect us at all because, and I can say us because we laugh about it, like laugh in the sense like we discuss, we would do the same. I, as a wife, my husband didn't come back. I'm not even drunk. Hey, you come home right now. And other men would say, yeah, my wife would do the same. So it wasn't something that shocked us.
I'm glad that you said that, because that was like the whole narrative in this too. Oh, well, she called him and she's screaming. This is the other side. She called him and screamed him. Well, yeah. I mean, if I'm looking for somebody who's not come home, I would be calling, my girlfriend 1,000 times. Like, where the fuck are you? Like, where are you right now? Of course I would be saying,
especially when you're home with his kids.
Yeah.
And you already have this scenario where you feel like maybe you're being used as the babysitter.
That doesn't paint her as a immoral, angry, whatever they want to call her. Just paint her as a human. And who never heard that. I'm sorry, guys, if you're married and you never cross your mind to yell at your husband or your wife or something, you live in Narnia.
I'm already in trouble because I talked about my wife in the lawn mowing. That's the rule. I'm not allowed to talk about my wife, so I can't tell you that.
Did any of you? And I just want to go back to the alcohol level too, because this is interesting that you touched on this. Did anybody argue about? Well, it's 5 a.m. The alcohol would have already been through her at that point. She probably wasn't drunk, but were you taking it back to the moment of when they were driving over to 34 Fairview? You said, well, look, she drove from the bar. She was driving drunk at that moment, because you said the 5 a.m. was
in my opinion, what made me convict her of OUI was I saw her drink on the video. She said on the videos, on the documentaries, and then she had this how you call, guys? I'm sorry, when you test alcohol level. What's the name?
The
blood test.
The blood test, but they did that retrograde extrapolation of her blood.
Yeah.
Right. So when they did the blood test, if it was alcohol there, whatever, if she drinks just midnight and it's still alcohol there, so she drank a lot at midnight. And if she didn't, if she had more drinks when she got home, with nobody said, but Alan Jackson did put it out there. We don't know what time she had her last drink. He just threw it in the air.
Yeah. And there's your yeah.
So he threw out there. And I don't think she actually had drink. For me, in my opinion, she got home and fell asleep. Yeah. But, either way, she had alcohol, if it was from 5 or from 12.
It's true, because if she had more drinks when she got home, then when she left in the morning, she drove drunk. So
the OUI was because she drove drunk at 5 a.m., not because she drove drunk at was a half and a half in our discussion, but some people was, for me, she was drunk at 12, for others out, she was drunk at 5. So either way, she drove drunk.
Well, you heard how we reacted standing outside. I don't think anybody was too broken up that she got convicted of the OUI. So I think that's
let's take a quick pause here for a second. If you're just jumping into the chat, welcome in tonight. We have Jason Broyles, not Hailey Walbrecht, on X. He's joining me here with, I hate saying this, but Paula, Juror 11. You are Juror 11. And I want to thank her for coming out tonight. We're going to get to a couple chats here. Let me just get these out of the way. Sure. The Goodmans, $2, says, you 3 people are amazing. Thank you so much. Kylie asks, so sorry you have to deal with this, Paula. You are the queen. and we have your back. So you have the support of the Free Karen Read supporters. Amy, 12-month member, thank you so much. As Nan says, just keep showing up, Paula. Just keep showing up.
There you go.
Lots of support for you. So Ocean Beach, thank you so much for the $10. Says at Hailey Walbrecht, Melanie Little said today on her stream that she left X because trolls thought Melanie Little had Hailey Walbrecht and threatened her kids to nonstop. Anti-free Free Karen Read cult is scary. Love you, Paula, and thanks for sharing. LTL and Howie. Hailey Walbrecht, you rock. Thank you so much, Ocean Beach. I appreciate that. So yeah, lots of support in the chat.
I do want to address that comment because that is true. So not just Melanie Little, but prior to my identity becoming uncovered, when I was Hailey Walbrecht, as my pen name instead of not Hailey Walbrecht as I am now, they accused me of being greater than 25 different people, and they were certain every single time. And I was a priest. One of my favorites was actually Mark Randazza. They accused me of being Mark Randazza, and I would go to Gloucester every year for a week, and I was in Gloucester, and I was messaging Mark, hey, I'm in Gloucester, and he's originally from Gloucester, and he sent me a list of locations to go and take pictures of and post, because we laughed and laughed that people thought that I was him. But Melanie Little did receive some very vicious harassment as a result of it, led by people like Kim Fair, who's still out there harassing people, one of the people that's harassing Paula currently, and others. And so there is all of this stuff that happens that they viciously gang up and go after people, and it's organized as a group. And that's one of the reasons that I really wanted to tell that side of Paula's story tonight, because it's not unique to Paula, although she probably deserves it, among the least, like Melanie Little did, who was a completely innocent victim in the sense that she didn't do anything to invite that criticism. She just did her show like she normally does in commentary online. And some of the people that went after Melanie Little, they really believed it, because we have people like Grant Smith Ellis.
Oh.
And I can tell you that behind the scenes, I can tell you that behind the scenes that Grant was actively manipulating people and saying, no, it's definitely, he told people that I was definitely Mark Murphy, who was a priest. Then I was Matt Murphy, his brother. Then I was Melanie Little. And every time it was, this is definite. But the worst thing that Grant does is he goes behind the scenes and he finds people who maybe are upset, or maybe their things aren't going well in their life or whatever. And he kind of preys on them and feeds them information and manipulates them into going after other people.
Because these are people that have no lives. I mean, this is all that they sit and do. They just sit behind a computer and they play keyboard warrior all day long. I mean, that's a sad, pathetic life that you have to centralize yourself, solely focus. I mean, Aiden gets the shit all the time too. Clearly. I mean, I get it, you get it, but it's like, really, this is how pathetic your life is, that you have to sit on X all day and tweet nasty things and say that you're going to kill people's kids and stuff like that. It's just crazy.
This gentleman, Gran, that I call him Gran online. He's my favorite, because he was my first encounter with what harassment would be. And I want to address this because it's important. What he brought out about my father-in-law, he did have some problem with the FBI back in 2019, when he had an agreement to work from home on Fridays, and then his supervision changed, and then he doesn't have this agreement anymore. He kept going home. Working from home, and he was investigating for fraud times for his work, but he was working from home anyways. But in order to work from home, he brought some documents he shouldn't from home. He's wrong, and he was charged for. This Grant guy, he go on and on and on and on about the situation, and mention things that I wasn't aware of, because my husband's family is very private. I don't know anyone in Massachusetts. My husband grew up here, but he moved to California years ago. We met over there, got married over there. So we are totally like alone here. His parents don't live here anymore. I don't have contact with his father. I know, of course, those things happen, and he served 18 months in prison. And the guy, I mean, it's shameful enough for his family, of course, and for him, who is a extremely intelligent man and got himself in this mess in the end of his life and career. And this man online brought this to invade my privacy, our privacy, and the most horrifying thing to me, to bring my husband's family name out. And it's a very unique name. Yeah. When I first got on Twitter or on X, I changed my handle right away because I don't want to be associated with my husband's name, because I know it's unique and it's going to be easy to get to my husband. I didn't even think about my father-in-law because it was such a long time ago. And I changed it, but he found out, he put everything there, and he went like 7 to 10 days just talking about this. And you're a spy, and then you were involved, and now your father-in-law is in Egypt doing this, and that. And now your father-in-law got this money from this, and that. And guys, none of this is true. He did have problems. He paid for it. That was 2019. He doesn't even live here anymore. And I'm sorry, my family has this stain, but has nothing to do with the fact that I was a juror. Doesn't affect my integrity, my seriousness, my responsibility as a juror or a citizen. Yeah. And you guys Grant Ellis bringing this situation out, which is public. Everybody could see it, but he made sure it was publicized and repeated, got us in trouble. Because, like I said, the name is very unique. So connecting to my husband and connect to my husband's work. And then we got consequences of it. And you can't come online and say, you look for it because you came out and say, no, I came out to talk about it because you guys all want to hear about what happened on the jury of Karen Reed. I'm not blamed for what piece of shit. Sorry,
you can say
digging on
because
I don't say those things online. It's digging online in my family, and it tried to offend me and attack my integrity as a family. And we got real consequences of that because of this guy from his basement, Gran. And like 2 days ago, he was still talking about me. It's like, leave me alone, man. Find another person. Let's talk about something else.
Yeah, this is what he does, and I can tell you that he's interfered in real life, in my life, in ways unsuccessfully, thankfully, in my case. But we have this thing over and over again. I'm going to be focusing a lot more of my attention and writing some things about Grant here shortly. So that's going to be happening. But I do think that I think what's important to note is it's not just Grant, it's Grant working together with Innocence Fraud Watch.
Oh, this one has a website on me, like a full website on me saying ridiculous thing, Innocence Fraud. Yes. I never heard about these people before. And I probably know only 30% of what's being said about me, but I do know Grant. I remember him by memory because I actually mailed him naively trying to clarify some stuff to see if he would do, that's what happened. Had nothing to do with me being a juror. You can criticize me as much as you wanted on my verdict, on my jokes online, whatever. But, I was just fulfilling my duty. I was just a randomly selected juror. I didn't ask for this. And Innocence Fraud put a website, and they call me the woman of many faces because they find pictures of me in 2016, 12, and I was younger, skinny, before kids, after kids, and they keep, look, she lies everywhere. Look how many pictures of her. Look how many names she had. Get in touch with other cultures, people. In Brazil, we use the way we use last name and maiden name is different than here. So I don't have many names. I'm one person. It's getting tiring, to be honest. It's upsetting.
Well, I can tell you that there's definitely what we see. I'm not a conspiracy theorist like Grant, but if you notice that those two accounts are aligned in the sense that Grant will say it on his show and it'll be on that website almost immediately. They work together. We have suspicions about who that is, but I'm not gonna go and name the name in that regard. But I do believe that Grant definitely doxed you, put out your information. Said, I'm not telling anyone to go and do anything or contact anyone. I think that Grant Smith Ellis has some consequences coming because at the very minimum, he's going to have some civil consequences, given that he's thoroughly defamed you.
And the funny thing is, his mom is a lawyer. You know that.
I mean, she's just as bad as he is. Yeah. So it's really hard to.
Who is his mom?
Wendy Murphy.
Oh, I heard about that one.
Yeah.
And so there are going to be some consequences for Grant.
She's been very vocal about the Karen Reed.
There is another person who is also a law enforcement, I think, confiner,
Coffin Daffer.
Daffer.
Something
Oh,
like
Dilly
that.
Daffer.
She posted the video, like edited video of me saying that I was on Twitter the whole time during trial, and that was like just for 2 days. It was going on and on and on. And then
So
she took it out.
Here's the funny thing about her. So, and I'm transparent with my audience about this. About 2 years ago, she came on my channel to talk about that Idaho 4 case. I don't know if you ever heard about that. We were just talking about it before this. So she came on, and we actually shared the same perspective and the same ideology in that case. The guy that ultimately ended up admitting to it, Brian Koberger, we thought all along that he did that. So I mean, it's out there. Everybody knows that she's been on my channel, and everybody's going to be like, yeah, Coffin Daffer on your channel. So she took the stance of the anti-free Karen Reed. She just posted a tweet the other day about me because, you know, I had started to get back into the Idaho 4 case. We're getting ready for trial. And then it got bumped because Koberger came out and admitted to it. And she said, oh, I hope he keeps the clown show out of Idaho or something to that. And I'm like, it's funny that she'll say something like that, but yet she's making these disparaging texts about you or posts about you. And you would think she would know better given the profession that she was in of a former FBI agent, which I still have some disbelief on that.
Oh,
but
I
anyway,
have some information that I'll talk to you about.
Wouldn't you think she would know better and take the better moral high ground? But she is stooping down to a 10-year-old level and posting these like awful.
Yeah, in her defense, she took it out 2 days later, I think. But yeah, she has a good audience, so was the time enough for some people to keep going on and on about it?
And I think that's the problem, is that she's not responsible, and it's pretty clear if you actually watch the pattern of her post and look at her account instead of just on Karen Reed, and you look at what she does. She literally just goes for clicks and views off the backs of pretending to be this victim's advocate, is what she does. But at the same time, her best friends, you know, she's friends with Kate Peter. Another name that has come up, Masshole Mafia. Today, right before we went on the air, Kate Peter posted a tweet basically threatening the district attorney, Michael Morrissey, saying, in a few days' time, I'm going to list out all of his recent failures with receipts. So she's now in a position where she harassed witnesses in this case and others. She literally already has harassment prevention orders from going after witnesses. She harassed you. So she went after Paula. She definitely harassed juror number 1, the foreman, and said the worst racist things, called him Uncle Tom, and said, I'm just going to call a spade, acting like it was just we all know what the connotations are.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
And now she's going after the district attorney because she didn't get what she wanted. And I'm sure she wanted Karen Reed to be charged with witness intimidation, and she wanted Turtle Boy to face additional witness intimidation and conspiracy charges. And now she's got her own trouble because she has her own cases, not just in Norfolk County. And she's in trouble in Turtle Boy's case, where they're trying to get all of her communications. And now suddenly she's going to go after the district attorney. It's time someone cut the head off the snake, metaphorically, and it's time for Michael Morrissey or whoever is next in Norfolk County, or someone in one of these other counties, or quite frankly the federal government, to take a look at this and say, we actually have like a criminal enterprise of harassment that's happening here, because these people collude with one another in order to do this. They share information.
Michael Proctor,
Yeah.
Tully, Buchanan, they were all in those text messages, you know, with Karen. What did you think about that when they made Buchanan read Proctor's text? See, you in the first trial, they had Proctor on the stand and they made him read his. Yeah, so you know about that. Yeah.
I probably will have opinion that diverse from other people on that. I have my good share of male friends, and I'm from Brazil, which is quite misogynist country still, unfortunately. And we're going to find sexism everywhere you go. It's not because I'm from Brazil. So I see that behavior of men talking about women that way commonly, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So for me, if it was a group of, CEOs of a company saying something like that about another employee, expected, okay? Didn't shock me in this moral sense. Oh my God, how could him talk about her like this? a lot of other guys are saying similar things or worse things. And woman does too when her girlfriends, human. You guys needed to stop being so naive that humans are perfect because they're police or lawyers or this or that. Humans are humans. They will be bad at
Clearly,
some point.
we're talking a lot about a lot of humans.
Yeah.
People.
For you to be bad, it's enough to be human. Everybody has this ability in itself. So it wasn't shocking because the things he was saying was upsetting and unprofessional and unethical and criminal, because he was the investigator in charge of the case, and he pretty much decided that it was her right out of the bat. And honestly, I don't think personally there was a conspiracy around. I just think the police, they kind of know what to do. They've been working with this, the Canton police and the Mass State. They all know each other. So they kind of know how to behave. Look, we have something that happened in a police officer lounge. It's a police officer. It's a guy that's well known. Everybody knows him. Let's make it easy. We're already having a girl asking if she hit him or something. So just throw everything on her and see what's happened. I think it's not that 30 people decided to come together and create a plan. I just think they were just reckless because they want to do what they are used to. Let's protect ours. Let's protect the one in the house or who is behind, or the other police who was in the house on the same day. So it's not like, 30 people involved in a conspiracy. That's crazy. For me, it was just like they were acting like they would act in other cases.
It's actually funny that you just said something that really struck me, because if you go back I think probably even before Hailey Walbrecht existed, my pen name, one of the things that I posted about this case was that they simply decided to protect the cop that lived instead of the cop that died, because he was already dead.
Yeah.
And it's not anything different. Two unique things about things with police officers, right? Very frequently, we know there's a thin blue line. It's a real thing. It's not made up. But also, when we talk about the phone call from Jennifer McCabe when she was calling 911, there's a man in the snow. Not my friend, not Boston police officer John O'Keefe. You know that you would have gotten a response. If you call a police department and say there's a police officer who's down, they're going to give you a different kind of response than if you just call and say there's a guy in a snowbank,
What did you think about the Google search? What did you think about actually she didn't get to hear it. Brian Albert saying, "Oh, my dog, my dog didn't wake me up," which is ridiculous. That was the first trial. But what did you think about the 2:27 a.m. Google search from Jennifer McCabe?
I think the explanation that Dr. Whiffen gave was logical. You open the tab and then you do a research, and then research later it's gonna mark the time that you open the tab. It's logical, could happen. I'm not, into it, technology. I don't know everything, but made sense with the data he showed us. But I've seen now after trial that FBI had a different opinion. Maybe other person investigating with other software or something. I didn't have this information in trial, and I'm not super
techie.
Yeah, techie, and I don't know what actually the FBI did up to now. I didn't dig in to learn.
I actually think that's important, because similarly, when you're a juror, right, and you're saying these things when you're looking at Karen, like, I can't say that she did this or didn't do that. There is a lot of this where you just have to kind of rely on
what's presented
to you and just thinking about how you feel about each piece, right?
It's interesting too, because we tackled this for 2 years, so we know a lot more and I love hearing like the different perspectives. So I'm not criticizing or anything. It's just interesting to hear, what side Paula's tackles is from, and it's like we know,
and we see all of the evidentiary hearings for the things that don't get in,
all the little intricacies,
and
that
so
were in
we
there.
see that, including the arguments for the attorneys, why this should come in or why this shouldn't come in. All of the stuff, even during the trial, that they all made you leave the room for. Well, we were watching on TV.
Exactly.
We were keeping score.
You guys definitely know much more than I do.
Yeah. Let me just get to a chat here. What's the truth? An Aussie checking in from Australia tonight says the trolls remind me of the Shiners in the Watts case. I'm so sorry you're going through this, Paula. We have another chat here. ShamWow, $10 Canadian. A lot of my Canadian friends checking in tonight. Thank you for Rabina says, Paula, Aiden Carney doesn't have a turtle boy. Are you following the current situation, or could you be the turtle girl to help raise awareness of what he is facing? Are you following anything with Turtle Boy now? You know what's going on? Yeah,
Yes,
you're
I
pretty
did.
up to date.
I was listening to his
Yeah.
hearing last Monday, right?
Okay, yeah, yeah.
I heard too. I don't know what I mean. He's charged of
Witness
intimidation, right? But who complained? I don't.
They all did.
The
what we call the
McCabe's and
McAlberts.
Alberts,
The
okay.
McAlberts.
So now here's an
Because
interesting.
that's sorry, but that's the thing. When people come to me online and say, you can't handle 10 days of social media and harassment, how about the family and the witnesses who are suffering for 3 years? My answer genuinely was, I'm sure they have the means to look for a police and a lawyer and get this thing going for them to protect them if they feel this way. It doesn't change the fact that I have my own set of harassment for 20 days. If they had for 3 years, go now look for justice. And so I wasn't sure if they were the responsible for his case.
They are, yeah.
So they see, guys, they look at
but the thing that's in just this is how this works is that you have the right as a person or a journalist on the street to go out and ask questions. That's all he did. It's free speech. Like if Jason is out on the corner, I can go ask him questions about.
He didn't
what are you
do
doing?
anything in comparison to what people are saying to you online or to me online or at any given day.
He asked questions. Can you tell me about XYZ? That's all he did. He went to where they were and then asked them questions as a journalist, and then had what they call like a rolling rally, just a group of people to go down and support John and support Karen, and that's what they're trying to.
That McAlberts are like this whole family are the ones who are accusing him of harassment.
Yes,
I got it clear.
And it gets
they're all in together.
I'll tell you more offline because it gets deeper than that. They recruited his ex-girlfriend to show up at court and all kinds of crazy things that
use it against him.
Okay, so they did what they're entitled to. They felt harassed, they felt unsafe. They went to police and court, did what they had to do. And so if I feel the same way, I have the same right. Correct?
There you go. Remember that.
Yeah. Bruce West, $2 says 3 times in the call she stated the man was dead. Yes, absolutely. And then Ocean Beach, $10 says 4 trolls in the Karen Reed and written jury query did not ask anything about work or legal experience, opposed to there's a lot of phonetic here, and it's just hard to get through all this and read it. But I appreciate you, Ocean Beach. I'm sorry, there's just a lot of
I'd have to put my glasses
stuff going on in the text message. I'm in the chat. So, and let's just do this too. Bruce West, $5. Thank you so much. He said, Officer John O'Keefe's death may have been an accident, but a cover up. It was not. There was no real investigation. It's your opinion. I mean, like I said, we've looked through this, and Jason can probably concur with me. I think there was a lot of covering up. I mean, how do you explain missing video evidence? How do you explain the camera across the street that literally would have caught everything that night that just conveniently didn't work or record anything? Jason?
Here's the thing. There's something for everybody in this case, because I can say there was definitely a cover-up, but that doesn't mean that everyone has to believe there was a conspiracy, because they're 2 different things, right? So a conspiracy is all of these people, like Paula said, getting together and planning it, but there could be a conspiracy between 4 or 5 people, the people who were on the latest ABC interviews, and a cover-up by others, and people don't even necessarily know they're a part of a cover-up when they're in a cover-up. It's as simple as, if you remember, I wish testimony came out, because let's talk about Sergeant Nick Barrows from Dighton.
Yep, wonderful man, by the way.
He did his report, and this was in the beginning when his report came out, and it showed that his report was edited at a certain time. And I just said, this is all it would take. You're a police officer. You go there, you make your report, and all of a sudden you get a call from the state police who are on the scene. And I'm not saying he did this. This is hypothetical. He did not do this, as a matter of fact. But all it would take is someone to call, a cop to call his fellow cop and say, you know what?
Yeah.
Our PC was a little bit shaky. Our probable cause when we did that, he goes, can you just mention that you saw a crack in the tail light?
Of course.
That's all it would take. And then so now that guy becomes a part of a cover-up unintentionally. He probably, if he did it, probably shouldn't have done it. But then once you've done it, then what?
Well, it goes
if
back
you speak up, like you lose your career.
And it goes back to Paula's point that she talked about a couple of minutes ago. These guys all knew each other, and they did. They all worked. Tully, Proctor, and Buchanan all work. I don't know if you saw now, they're all getting transferred
I
around.
saw it.
And then Proctor's trying to appeal his firing. You just had a hearing the other day.
Look, even him, I try to think the best of people. Like I say, you guys know much more than I do, but from what I know, even him, maybe he was caught in the middle of this whole thing. Oh, okay, let's just save this Alberts and let's keep going the easy way. And then it was too late for him to try to go back. I don't know the guy. I don't know his history in the police. I now know that he was involved in another case. But it does prove that in general, when there is a police involved, the ones who are going to investigate going to be more flexible. Like they are a big blue family. And it's not me being biased against police. It's just, facts, the experience. We've seen that in other cases in the States, outside the States.
And actually, we've seen it in other cases in Norfolk County with these same police, including Michael Proctor in the Just on Route case, telling Just on Route's stepmother that that Just on had shot a valet parking attendant in the head. It was a police bullet. It was a police bullet that grazed the valet parking attendant. And Just on Route never had a gun.
I learned the Sandra Birchmore case, which I'm very interested in follow. Also was one of the Guarino, right? Officer Guarino. Yeah. Was also involved. I mean, we are all in the same areas. So we might going to find them in the same cases. That I don't know. I can't blame people. I can't accuse people without proof. I didn't accuse Karen Reed, right? I didn't convict her because it wasn't enough proof for me to convict her. I can't say it was Jen McCabe. Paula, you're insinuating that they did, the McAlberts did, whatever. No, I just think there was a set of coincidences that made them suspicious, and I wish they were looked at. If she was Jen McCabe or any of the Alberts in trial, I wouldn't try them either, because it's beyond reasonable doubt. It's not.
And this is the point, and this is the point that I do this. All of this ties together. When you have all of these troll accounts and everything else, we have a lot of people that come to me every day. I get this every day. So-and-so is this account and so-and-so is that account or whatever. And I say, come to me with evidence or I don't care. Like, I don't believe it. Or so-and-so in our movement is bad, or this other person did this. Come to me with evidence or I don't care. Because
basically what Aiden says. Well, the same thing.
And if you look at
show me receipts.
And if you look at me, they said that I sexually harassed a pregnant free Karen Reed woman. No, well, that woman's one of my best friends, and I'm great friends with her husband too. And they'll tell you that never happened. That I've been called a pedophile. No child has ever made a complaint about me. Like, so I'm not sure where that came from. Anything that they can find.
Yeah, it's just nasty stuff.
Oh, a 52-year-old man who regularly volunteers with children. What can we say that's going to be the worst thing?
Stuff. Yeah.
So the bottom line, and I say the same thing to them when they come with those things. I say, great, just show me the evidence. Just find one person to come forward and say that I did that.
It's the same thing when they said I tampered with jury. I lied to get in there. I was watching everything during the trial. Show it, prove it, call the police, do something about it if you really think it's true.
This literally has been one of the most interesting conversations because we're hearing from a juror that didn't have the background that we did, and we just hear it from her perspective. And, to see that she looked at the evidence, the jurors looked at the evidence, and it was that case of reasonable doubt. And again, goes back to our beginning of our conversation where we talked about the first case. The first case was who did it? Obviously it wasn't Karen, but it was the people that were inside 34 Fairview. And then we had all the major players that were all interconnected. And I'm telling you, there's tons of you got to read the story of how this is all connected. It's wild. And I know you don't have the deep roots that we do, but to hear, how you sat through trial too, and we're looking at it kind of through a fresh lens now of how she perceives the evidence and how she's perceived things that have gone on. It just blows my mind because I know where I sit, and then we're hearing this different perspective, but it all got us to the same place in the end. Is that Karen Reed did not hit John O'Keefe. Karen Reed did not kill John O'Keefe, and Karen Reed is innocent of these charges. It's wild. It's very good.
One thing I want to say about this too is that, you have this manufactured outrage by these trolls who are here and they're coming out and they're saying all these things, and they were very vocal. Before you met them, they were the same way, right? They were very vocal all throughout the thing. But if you look at national polls on this case, it's always been between 80
Oh,
and
yeah.
90% of people that think Karen Reed is innocent.
It's even higher than
Yeah.
that, I think.
And
It's
so-
like 95.
So I can't figure out the outrage that they have that
Yeah.
12 members of the jury came to the same conclusion. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. It was always a bad case. It was the first time it was a bad case. The second time it was a bad case. The state did not have the case.
Yeah.
They just did not have a good case.
Yeah, it's if from the basis the investigation was
Botched.
weak. Yeah.
It's botched.
And you
Um,
can't go back and fix it. There's so many things that happen that you can't go back and redo. You can't go back and secure the crime scene after it's been
And it's
unsecure.
basic things. I don't need to be a police officer to know everything how investigation work. It's basic. You found someone dead in your alarm. You go inside the house, please. Minimum. Why they didn't? Of course, because the guy was a cop. And it's the word in Portuguese is corporativism, like when corporation work together.
yeah.
I don't know how to
Yes.
say in English. It's pretty much the same thing that happens in private companies that happen with the police. It's not biased, guys. I know there's a lot of good police officers out there. It's not biased against Dever, like because I've been speaking a lot about her. I honestly feel sorry for her because I think she was put in a situation that she was scared, and she's young, and she thought she did the right thing by going to court and behaving that way. And I saw now she's in medical leave or absence leave or something. At first she did the right thing. She said what she saw to the FBI, right? And then she had to change. Why she had to change? Because probably she was pressured.
Yeah. I think when she was called to the office and her superior said, do the right thing, I think that was the
Hey,
pressure.
everybody who have work in a company or in a public thing, you know that this happened.
Mm-hmm.
Don't mean it's not Narnia, guys. It happens. It
So
happens
I know we're
everywhere.
kind of coming up on it based on Paula's time. I want to be respectful
Yeah,
of
of
your
course.
time and what time
Yep.
you go. So I just want to talk real quickly about what's next. So
Mhm.
what's next? I kind of alluded to the fact that if you've been one of these people that have been gone beyond the simple social media banter, insults back and forth, what's next is don't feel like you're safe, because you're not. I can tell, I'm not going to reveal any specific details, but I
Mhm.
can tell you that myself and some great people that I work with on a regular basis are working almost full time on either uncovering your identities to make public what you did, and in some cases, providing information to law enforcement agencies and to victims in going through these scenarios. We are simply not going to sit back and allow people who have done nothing wrong to be harassed to the point that their lives are being threatened, or their families' lives are being threatened, or they're being given these real life consequences where people are colluding together to create a scenario where they can try and destroy their lives because they simply didn't agree with the verdict that they came up with. So for me, what's next is more of the same. But what's next for you, Paula? Because I know that you had your part-time job at Target and you did that. I think, and this is just my opinion, I think it's time for Paula, especially hearing more of her opinions tonight. I think it's time to work on getting Paula to be a lawyer here in the United States.
Yes,
Like,
I agree.
Someone asked me that on other TikTok, and I said, guys, find me a scholarship, I'm in. It's just,
Well,
maybe
I'm
we
an
can work
adult
towards that and help
priority.
you
It's just
out.
really hard.
It's funny that you should say that, because I think that I know you and I have spoken a little bit prior to coming on here today. And that is something that I, in addition to going after these trolls or whatever else, I have started to put feelers out through my professional network, and I work with a number of attorneys and things like that. And I don't have a super great announcement to make tonight, but what I can tell you is that I am getting a lot of interest in from some attorneys who may want your services and maybe to assist you along in what you're doing. And I'll get back to you with some more news on
Thank you.
that. I'll tell you, and I'll tell you first. It won't be.
I'm going to tell you something quickly, just surprisingly.
course.
During trial, as you were talking about future and career, I look into do I have still under the age to be a police officer? That would be super cool. The investigation. I did look at online. I even mentioned to other jurors, and because just like seeing all the police come with it, I like this investigation part of things. When I say I'm a true crime lover, I love to listen to true crime for real. Investigating, find and looking for evidence and putting together a case. I really feel passionate about it. And I look into like, can I still apply for be a police or something? Because I'm just like between. But I give up already. It's not.
Oh, thank goodness! I hope we're not here talking about Paula when they get involved in a case.
I just want to throw this out there because you see, I'm not biased against the police. Yeah. I know there are good people there.
Either. That's the thing. I think there are good police officers there. I have one that frequently guests my program. He's a retired Mass State Police officer. His name is Todd McGee. He's a wonderful man, and he just plays it the way it is. There's no manipulation. He calls BS out when it needs to be called out. And he's a great guy, and he's done a lot on for me, a lot for this channel. He's a huge supporter of me and the community, because he just wants to tell things like it is. And you don't really get a lot of that, especially in Massachusetts. Obviously, I mean, what you just saw that you went through this trial. But we need more transparency, and the system does need to be fixed here. We can't have situations like Karen Reed to ever happen again. We can't have situations like Enrico Delgado Garcia happen again. We can't have cases like Sandra Birchmore happen again, and so on and so on. We need answers for those, but those situations can't happen. We need clear, concise policing in our community, so we instill trust back in our citizens here, that when I pick up the phone and I call an officer that comes to my house to protect me or to check in on something, that I can have full confidence and feel confident that that officer's there to do their job and do it correctly. So
I think so. For me, I always say I'm in kind of a weird position because I'm generally a police supporter, and I mean, I think Aiden says this too, right? With him, the same thing with him, where he generally has been on the side of the police. And in most of the cases that I followed, I think I probably lined up with the prosecution more than the defense. Not all. But I'm also a police accountability activist, because I do that for my friends who are police officers. Some of my best sources are police officers who can't speak out. And I think that people don't understand that sometimes this isn't just, oh, I could lose my job, I could do this. Sometimes they're putting their lives in danger if they speak out. Because all it takes is that cop that's not going to back you up on that call, that's going to step on the brake a little bit on the way there, who's not going to do you any favors. And there are real serious consequences. And a lot of times when police officers want to do the right thing, they have to do it through people like me. They have to do it through people that they can tell a story to, and remain anonymous, because it's very dangerous.
It is. Let's read a couple more chats, and then we're going to end the conversation. I have one final question for you, and I want to hear your perspective on this. Let me just get these out of the way. Let's see. Doreen, thank you so much. She said, please pursue and pressing charges, protect yourself. And she's been a member here for 17 months. So thank you so much for supporting LTL Media. Teeper Legal checking in, and Adam will be on the show live on Sunday for the Sunday 617. Going to come in and sit down. We're going to have a great conversation, talk about Karen Reed, talk about maybe Paula here, Juror 11. Yeah. Adam's great.
Yeah, Adam's great. Yep.
And we're going to talk about Turtle Boy as well. And ShamWow checking in for $5 Canadian said, Paula, have you been approached by the Turtle team to eventually be hired to help him in jury selection? Can you get a license?
Again, for me to get a license to be a lawyer, I need to study. I can do other things. If you guys have a job for me, just call me.
let's figure it out. And then Professor Phil Bell, Aussie, $2. Thank you. The police hit the taillight much too hard. Yes, I love that, and I agree. I got a final question for you, Paula, and this will wrap this all up. If you could go back and do it all again, would you?
Of course. I would. I love the experience of being there. I took it serious. I pay attention in the details. I started the jury thinking that she was guilty of something. I do, the drinking part was brought up right in the beginning. So for me, maybe she was really drunk and hit him or something. So I wrongly start the trial thinking she's not, like, you have to start thinking she's innocent until prove the opposite, right? I wrongly start thinking she did something. And was the evidence in front of me who proved differently. So I would do again. I would, even if it was 6 weeks worth it. I flew my dad from Brazil here to take care of my kids so I could continue on the trial. Wow. I had my daughter in the hospital for the weekend with infection on her hand, a silly thing. And I was back there in the morning, Monday, to continue with the trial because I was invested for real. And it's not because I want to show off and get the rich and famous for after trial. I spoke it out because you guys want to hear about it, guys. So be kind, please.
I actually want to make a point
Sure.
because Paula didn't bring this up, but I want to say it. You were to the point to where when I was having discussions with you and I said, hey, I think it's important to come and tell this story, the other part of the story, the harassment and everything else. You were at the point where you had basically pretty much decided that you weren't going to do any more interviews, or you were at the end of that. And a lot of that is as a result of the real life harassment that's happened. So for everyone that says that you're doing this to be famous or whatever else, I actually had to convince you and have a conversation about how this could not only help you in stemming some of the harassment that you're getting, but that we could use this when we go and meet with those victim witness advocates and district attorneys and say, look, we have a serious problem on our hands and we need your help. And so in your tradition of trying to do the right thing and to do your civic duty or whatever else, you actually came here today against your reservations to be able to have this conversation to help people. So I commend you for that. And it's a great sign of your character.
Yeah, it's not that I have respect for everybody who's working on this case for so long. And like, you guys are all following this for so long. Why not? Why can I not? Why I wouldn't talk to you? It's your job. And you have an audience who want to know it. I have no problem talking. But I didn't talk that much. It was just one day. It was 24 hours, all those TV interviews, I swear. And then that was it. And then there was like Turtle Boy and Larry. And then I'm here,
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time. And I appreciate the education and helping our audience, learn from a juror's perspective that was on this is a very important case here. I mean, there were a lot of people that were emotionally invested, just like you heard that cheer outside. And I want people to understand, and I want you to understand this. The cheers, yes, there was a celebration out in front of that courthouse, but the cheers were that it had to take Karen to go through 2 trials and this mess of a situation that she was in to prove that she did not do this. So we could go on to finding justice for John O'Keefe. John is never missed in any of this. And that's something that this other side tries to say, oh, well, you forget John. No, we actively want the case to be reopened. We want the FBI to step in and reopen this case and look inside 34 Fairview and find out what happened to John that night. I have not forgotten. I know you have not forgotten. Lauren is over there in the chair and she has not forgotten. And I know everybody in here inside this chat room as well. You have a ton of support in this chat. They're all positive comments. And again, I want to thank you so much for coming out and spending this hour and a half with us and giving your perspective on the Karen Read case as a juror.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me. I came and want to talk about this. What's been going on online, and it is harassment, guys. Look in the law, even if it's online. I don't need anybody show up in front of me and beat me up for being harassment. Stalking online exists, and it is a crime. And some of you just went beyond mockery. And I don't have fun with you. I have fun with the stupid things, the serious things. I don't have fun with it. And I'm ready to, move forward.
Yeah. So.
To say any help you need, we're here for you. This community is here for you.
And if you've already gone too far, it may be too late for you, but there's always time to stop.
Yeah.
So it's time. If you want to debate Paula's ideas or her things or comment on, I got great comments. I already showed you before. One of my followers messaged me to ask me what blush you used in a certain picture, and
I don't remember.
All of that's great. But other than that, leave this lady alone.
Yeah.
Like, it's time.
Leave her alone. Leave her family alone. If you continue, we will find out and expose you. And if we have to bring formal charges, we will do that.
And one of the best people that I work with, when we were having that little exchange about you need to have the evidence, texted me, show me the evidence, bitch. That's what she said. And that person is the baddest bitch I know. And if you're out there harassing Paula, I'm just going to sit back and send her to you, and you're not going to like what happens.
Well, again, I thank everybody for their time. Jason, thanks for coming out. Paula, thank you again so much. Be well. If you need anything, we're here for you, and you have tons of support for this audience. So we're going to end this discussion tonight. I want to thank everybody for coming out and checking out this live stream. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do, because we have great conversations like this, and really been expanding the platform and getting in-house guests to come out and sit, because that's why I wanted to build this, to build a community and bring our community in here and have these discussions. So again, I appreciate everybody tonight. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. We'll be back on Sunday with Adam Teeper. He's going to sit beside me. We're going to have a great conversation on the Sunday 617. And I hope everybody has a great night, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Take care. Bye-bye.